I think they want to lose twice to JinAir in one season.
Another 2-0 win for JinAir would be unconscionable just in the history of SK Telecom as a League of Legends organization.
Yeah, well, there's a GP ban, and it's a good thing to ban GP against Trace, isn't it?
It certainly is. I mean, Kuzan was actually playing the Gangplank last time we saw JinAir play, but I was looking at the stats as you do before the broadcast. Trace 5-0, 55 KDA Gangplank, but my favorite stat.
55 KDA.
55 KDA. That's not even my favorite stat, though.
All right, what is it?
So Trace, at the 20-minute mark, I believe it was 20:34 of his first Gangplank game of the season, he died. Did not die subsequent to that. Trace has not died in competitive play for 189 minutes and 37 seconds. 3 hours, 10 minutes in Champions.
On Gangplank.
On Gangplank. He has not died.
That's insane. So basically, it's been over 3 hours since Trace has died playing Gangplank
You could watch
in professional play.
Exactly. You could watch multiple movies, plenty of TV episodes, Trace just piling on the CS, and JinAir doing a lot of winning in that time.
That's crazy, man. I mean, it's a good ban then from SKT, obviously. There's the Lucian ban to finish things up, and really first pick for Blank. We saw him play quite well with it at IEM, and makes sense.
The Lucian ban over Nidalee is really surprising to me. Bang has looked excellent on Lucian. It's been probably his most impressive champion for a good year now. But giving over Nidalee is always a high price to pay. This is the champion that basically in any jungle matchup can get in there, mess with you. We've seen Peanut do it time after time. Blank looks best on aggressive junglers, and this is the pick of them.
I mean, JinAir confident in Wing's ability to mitigate that, I suppose. They're going to log in the Poppy right away and maybe take that Alistar for Che.
Just seems a heavy price to play for banning out Lucian. Kalista for sure, a regular in the ban phase, but Nidalee seems to be higher priority than Lucian to me.
All right, Alistar indeed locked in as well. And so what's going to be for SK Telecom? Do you go for the bot lane here?
You could do. You obviously have top and support from JinAir locked in, so Nidalee doesn't necessarily pigeonhole them into a poke comp, but obviously works great in one. With Corki banned away, it's less likely. Pilot's been defaulting to Sivir recently, so we might see Vayne in a later rotation if we do see bot lane come out from JinAir. But I feel like JinAir is going to be picking between Sivir, Ashe, and Ezreal. Those have been the big picks for Pilot. All of them are possible. Sivir would actually be a takeaway because JinAir have shown a very high priority for Sivir on 6.4.
All right, that's a choice. You know, I mean, do you take Sivir away, or do you play the game, the Vayne rather, to try to prevent the Sivir pick on the other side? Looks like SKT is basically saying, hey, you know what? If you pick that Sivir, we're going to pick Vayne. If you don't, we're going to pick it. I feel like SKT, even though they locked in Lulu Trundle, they're sending a message to JinAir right now.
And that's why the pick ban phase can be so interesting, is they are sending messages with their hovers. You're obviously never going to just lock in Vayne because there's so many other AD carries that can really just ruin her day in the laning phase.
My solo queue games beg to get to differ, Papa.
Been doing some Vayne spotting, Doa?
Fortunately, yes. As you do.
So there is the outside chance that JinAir will keep their AD carry for the last pick. Depends. With Lissandra off the board, there's not so many flexible champions they could go for, but we've seen a lot of priority recently on the Azir, and actually, as I say, it does look like JinAir might be considering hiding that AD carry pick.
Yeah, I think they do want to make it kind of tough for SK Telecom to decide with that one, because what if SKT now picks Vayne, and then JinAir goes over to Ezreal? You know, then suddenly you're in big trouble. So they're kind of preventing SKT from taking that Sivir counter. So I feel like if you're SKT, you just go Ezreal right now. You've got Lulu and Nidalee. Poke away.
Well, still Braum available. Was always going to be the likely answer. Braum, Alistar are by far the two Evoke supports on this patch, but this is looking like an 80 carry focus comp. You've got Trundle top if you do lock in the Braum, so you need damage from the 80 carry role.
Yeah.
It's risky to go Ezreal, not a lane-dominant champion with a Lulu.
Still, though, against JinAir, you know the game's going to go late, so you've probably got more time to ramp up.
You're right.
Might go with the Sivir, though.
Simple strategy. Now, Sivir makes sense as a takeaway, but will we just see Pilot go Vayne? Pilot's definitely had times where he's played Vayne.
I think, knowing SKT, knowing Bang, I feel like Ezreal's going to be what they're going to go with, and they will. So Ezreal Braum.
Definitely an early game focus comp. from SKT. Obviously, Ezreal will have his power trough building tier and getting through the laning phase, but a lot of lane presence in both top and mid means that it's really on Blank to take advantage early, because in the late game, it's only going to be damage issues from an SK Telecom perspective. Only Lulu and Ezreal as true damage threats.
So maybe we'll see the Ashe. We will see the Ashe from Pilot.
Seen it twice this season, 2-0, 28 KDA. Think about JinAir, going through their stats, they have so many champions that are undefeated with just astronomical KDAs. This team doesn't die a lot. In general, takes it late and can really pile on the gold and KDAs from that virtue. But Kuzan with the early rotation Azir is probably the big surprise. Kuzan has always been an Azir player, but ever since BDD debuted and really showed us that Azir certainly can be played, we've seen a surprising amount of Azir, and it's certainly been polarizing. And we just saw Kuro really stink up the rift with Azir in the last game against Samsung.
Yeah, you're definitely either an Azir player or you're not an Azir player, and Kuro's never really been much of an Azir player, so in that case it was kind of surprising to see him pick that up. Kuzan, on the other hand, I think is well equipped to take this Azir into game one. So that is going to be our rosters for game number one between JinAir and SK Telecom. The grudge match. SKT got 2-0'd by JinAir way back in week one of Champion Spring, and they do not want to drop another series to JinAir or really anybody if they want to get in a good spot in the playoffs.
Certainly not. Pretty trademark drafts from both sides. Very 80 carry focused. A lot of utility champions. Then we got Ashe and Ezreal to really pump out the damage.
Yeah, that's right. Should be good. We'll see if SK Telecom is able to ramp in the late game with any sort of power. Certainly going to have time. JinAir is going to give it to him. I would not be surprised. And so, it is time. The world champions, the IEM champions, can they defeat their nemesises? The second place JinAir GreenWings? Let's find out. Nemesis, I don't know, whatever. Welcome to Summoner's Rift, SK Telecom versus JinAir GreenWings. And we'll see if SK Telecom can do it. I don't know, it seems like Bengi's been benched for a while. He's probably back at the team house practicing all of those champions he should have learned years ago. But
is it wrong that I now really want to see a training montage of Bengi spamming Nidalee games?
I know, right?
Sounds unbelievably amusing.
At the end, the character like runs up the steps of the fountain and just like does the air punching and stuff. Makes sense.
Jungle matchup, I think, is the real featured one. Actually, not the first time these two junglers have met. The first time SKT played JinAir in game one, it was the sub squad. Both Scout, who's no longer on the roster, and Blank played. And again, went JinAir's way. They brought back Bengi. He played Eve, and it was a rough one. So this time it is the IEM lineup. Blank certainly got a bit more form, but notably looked more shaky in Champions than he did back at IEM when he played against the Afrika Freaks last week.
Scout, though, will spend the rest of the season as the player with the highest kill contribution at 100% for pretty much the rest of the season.
Everyone's favorite misleading stats when you're doing your research.
Oh, yeah.
100% kill participation, I believe it was.
And Faker on this very safe Lulu pick.
I see standard lanes, interestingly.
Yeah. What do you feel like that does for JinAir and SKT? Who wants it?
Looking at the two duos, we're seeing a lot of fighting between Bang and Pilot.
A lot of trading between, from coming out of Wolf and Bang.
Because Bang got to lane so early, and Pilot's low in health, actually losing out in trades.
Whoa.
Ashe is really strong level 1, but struggling here.
Yeah, and Bang is a really, really impressive Ezreal player. He always has been. And so to default on this safe pick, to really put a lot of pressure on early, makes a lot of sense. You know, I mean, the longer you can delay that level 6, the longer you can delay having to worry about those Ashe arrows coming in, having to worry about the picks, you know?
Talking about the 2v2 matchup, because you asked, it's one of those situations where Ezreal certainly doesn't have the level 1 of Ashe, who can auto-attack into the W, the volley, can really win trades. But apart from the level 1, actually does comfortably win this laning matchup until the first purchase. When Ashe builds attack damage, Ezreal builds tier and famously goes into the bed of a power trough. So for the early laning phase, it's going to suit SKT to have the 2v2. In the top lane, definitely Poppy's the better lane to gank for, and Duke will scale up and then be that split push force that Poppy won't be able to deal with in the late game.
Yeah. Things going in for SKT. They want to take this blue buff. We'll see if they can. Winged only with his red so far, so they might be able to 3-buff him here. I think they will.
It's actually nice. Wolf came up earlier, remember, and put down that ward when Ezreal got the pressure at the level 1. This is an extension of the level 1 trading that SKT won, and now all Wing can do is watch on as Blank gets ahead.
Yeah, that's a big start for Blank. I mean, you really want that in Italy. He's a little bit ahead in CS. Keeping that blue buff away from a champion like Gragas actually hurts him a lot. I mean, Gragas can be a bit of a mana hog early on.
Just returning to, again, the talk of standard lanes. The one thing that standard lanes does is it really allows the jungle matchup to breathe. When you go in a lane swap, the junglers are following. The junglers in general are spending time in lane. If you have this aggressive jungler in the Nidalee, you want to empower to do that counter jungler, to really get in the face of the enemy jungler. Standard lanes really suits that.
Yep. All right, Blank coming in for a gank on the mid lane. Kuzan should probably be able to get away with that. Whoa, nice whimsy from Faker, slows him down. Kuzan gets out with the E. Had to burn both summoners to do it. That was a close call. Blank flashed for it, but man, that was just a great timed W from Faker. That was very close to first blood.
If Blank had got a full rotation of spells on an auto attack, I think he might have been able to get down the kill. That's why he flashed. Maybe didn't respect the heal, which was popped by Kuzan, but very nice gank timing and just opening with the polymorph. Not what you expect from a Lulu, but super effective.
Yeah. Yeah, the whimsy, the W, the polymorph effect is really strong early on, just preventing any sort of defensive action from your opponent, you know?
In SKT's first 5 minutes, the planning has been clear. Pushing up and winning that level 1 by getting to lane much earlier while JinAir took that first camp. Getting lane control, which allowed Wolf to push up and get the ward, then stealing the buff with Wolf coming to help Blank. All of that follows. All of that is smart play, and it's good to see SKT already with smart shot calling in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah. And that shot calling has led to a nice CS lead down the bot lane for Bang. That bully. Things still pretty even in the mid lane. Here comes Winged. Going to try to make a play onto the bot lane, but it's going to be tough to lock down Ezreal. He's in a ward anyway. They know he's there.
Che just pulverized nothing.
Yeah, that's not good.
Wave clear pulverize.
Pulverize the ground.
He's mad, you know?
Yep, I would be too. If my legs were that tiny, I mean, think about how hard it would be to like ride a bicycle or something.
But he is in another life a matador, so.
That is freaky.
Flexible.
That is, so you're saying Alistar's like a homicidal maniac?
Well, between the cowboy skin and the matador, Alistar has a lot of extracurriculars that don't really make a lot of sense to me.
He is, dude, man. He's like the Hannibal Lecter of
Faker's going for
Minotaurs.
a walk and then some.
Yeah, moving up to top lane for the moment, but Trace isn't around. Faker just removing himself from the map vision, though. Does seem to pull Winged up into the top side of the map. Aha, a ward.
Just what I was looking for.
Yep. Blank just swinging by. Say hello. Or meow, I guess.
Yep, the meow probably the more likely side. Just trying to pressure Winged, but they don't really have vision to have predictable movement from Winged. They haven't been able to push in vision. Just now, a ward onto the Krugs.
I mean, cougars don't really meow, though, do they? They kind of more like rawr, you know? They kind of growl.
Look, you are, I think, objectively correct, but obviously the double meaning of cougar makes it complicated to speak about.
Well, that's true, too. Bang, taking a little bit of damage, but able to sustain his way back up with the biscuits.
Do the counter jungling while you can, while you have the lane pressure. Before Bang just has to sit back and stack up that tier has been the plan from SKT, and it's been a smart one. The longer that SKT can delay the first back from Pilot, the more lane control they'll have in bot, but also the longer they'll delay the tier timing. I mean, the tier and the Mana Moon transformation will come that much later for SKT. So they're playing with power, they're playing intelligently, but there's always a trade-off whatever you decide to do.
Playing with power. That reminds me of a completely different video game system.
That's true. The Power Glove.
Right. Or just Nintendo in general. Wasn't that their slogan for like a long time?
Just thinking of the Power Glove, because you got I guess we can say on the broadcast, my birthday present came in, and it was an original Nintendo Power issue from the first issue from 1988.
Yeah, Nintendo Power issue 1. Are you learning all the 6 strats for Super Mario Bros. 2?
Zelda 2 as well.
Sweet. A lot of 2s there, I guess. Ah, yes, good old days.
Che's going for a walk. I don't know if he's spotted out by vision. Okay, this is a little bit more transparent.
Yeah, I think Faker may have a sneaking suspicion there's a gank coming.
When your Ash leaves lane to go for a roam.
Yeah. And so, just more laning. I mean, we've had a couple little gank attempts, but so far nothing really out of control. When do you think we're going to see any priorities start to be put on this Dragon?
Well, JinAir have been the team that have really controlled Dragon. The stats actually show that the lowest Dragon control in the league is SK Telecom.
True.
They've had the pressure around bot side. They've stolen away the first 2 blue buffs. So SKT have been in the position to take Dragon, but with their bot lane not shopping, this hasn't been an obvious time. There wasn't a delayed back timer between each lane. So because of standard lanes, first Dragon usually comes in later, and it might be one of those 19-minute, 20-minute first Dragons.
Oh, good.
We might go long, Doa.
Oh, yeah. Here comes Wing. Gets some ward down. Duke just warding that tri-brush as well, just in case.
What's the latest first blood you've ever seen in competitive play?
Oh, man. I don't remember.
You've cast some slow games.
It had to be over 20 minutes.
This could be one of those games, Doa.
Oh, yeah.
I don't mean to excite you too much.
I'm not. Don't worry. No, I think... I'm sure we've seen one close to 30 minutes. But then again, we're talking like 4 years of games at this point, so it's hard to pick out a single one.
I feel like games used to be more bloody as strategies have evolved and gotten more routine. There's less of those high kill games, unless you're in China.
Yep, very true. But again, we're talking about as strategy has been refined. First Dragon does go to SK Telecom, taking it in 10 minutes. Kuzan dueling with Faker here.
Faker, the Lulu main, only played Lulu since he got back from IEM. 3 games in a row against Afrika, now here in game 1.
Yeah, strange to see that lack of champion diversity that we normally know Faker for. But Lulu's such a good pick right now that if it's open, a lot of times you'd be dumb not to take it.
And definitely 2015 SK Telecom, since the end of KNS, Lulu's been the defining pick for them in the mid lane for sure. We remember the CJ Entus game where Faker's Lulu and Bang's Lucian really went off, and that's really a duo that's become synonymous with SKT.
Yep, pretty much.
Lucian notably banned in this game, so forcing the Ezreal, which means less lane pressure, and leads to the low kill game that we see.
I feel like both of these teams are kind of getting what they want, right? They're both getting to farm up, they're both getting to move towards that late game, but SK Telecom, at the moment anyway, is just doing it a little bit better. Better in CS, better to grab the Dragon. But then again, JinAir just seems to have this uncanny way to really punish mistakes in the late game.
SKT really played the map smartly.
Blanks here, though. Coming in, gets hit with the Asher right away. Teleport coming in. For SK Telecom as well. Looks like First Blood is going to come in. Che is not making it out of this one. Who's going to get it? Going to go over to Faker. So finally, a TP play in the bot lane, and SK Telecom claims that First Blood.
Had a strong coordination in the early game. Open up the CS advantage you see between Blank and Winged, and now Faker's able to push in the mid lane, teleport to bot with no penalty whatsoever. No way that Azir could react.
Blank in trouble. Jumping over the wall, makes it out. Close call, though. Had to burn his flash to do it.
Still, a kill with no penalty whatsoever, barring the teleport summoner being used and Blank's flash. First blood confirmed, and
not bad.
SKT continue their winning ways.
It's a good start. And if I know SKT, and I feel like I know pretty well at this point.
You've cast a few of their games.
I have, yes. They're the type of team that when it really comes down to it, when they want to win, they will buckle down and they will slow everything down and play methodically and win those games. We've seen it time and time again. And although 2014 was a bit of an exception to the rule, we saw it last year, we saw it at IEM rather, we saw it back in 2013. If SK Telecom wants to win games, there's very little anyone can do to stop them.
That's why you can never write off SK Telecom. Wing's going to be spotted out.
That's right, gets found in the enemy jungle. Faker coming up too. Winged very, very low. Blank not quite able to get the kill though, as Winged uses that explosive cast to push Nidalee back.
So risky to go into the enemy jungle against Faker, who's already completed his Frost Queen's claim, and Nidalee, who's the strongest duelist in the other game. See you later.
My Trundle.
That was instantly. That was just hilarious.
Did you know, Papa Smithy,
I'm listening,
that Trundle's mace, his club rather, is a magical club of never melting ice that he uses to control the other troll hordes. That's why he's king of the trolls, because he was the one that went and found this mythical weapon.
I don't want to talk about Trundle's new lore. His old lore was perhaps the best written and most interesting in the game.
What was it?
He was a tragic hero was the story, and then they rewrote him as just a one-note champion when they did the Freljord rework back when Sejuani got her visual update.
Sad times.
Seriously, I know you have time because you always have these lore discussions with Monty.
I make time.
Make time to read Trundle's old lore. Find it.
I'll find it.
It was great.
I'll track it down.
We are the lore mythbusters.
That's
champions.
Lore busters.
Lore busters.
Ninja
I mean,
busters.
to be fair, the lore was busted before we got there.
Well, that's true. Like Ninja Busters, though. Focusing mostly on a particular foe ninja. Now, Rift Herald did go over to Blank a little bit ago, but SKT really isn't the type of team to use that Rift Herald like we've seen some other teams use to really push top or bottom tier 2. But then again, we didn't really have that lane swap scenario this game, so that kind of thing doesn't really come into play as much, I suppose. Also,
you think back to those few games where a Rift Herald was used effectively. Think of the champions. It was usually Sivir, who would pick up the Rift Herald, already have an Essence Reaver and just her suite of wave clear, and they push up with strong wave clear champions as Faker's.
Wow.
Trying to go assassin mode, but it is, of course, a Poppy.
Yeah, well, I mean, just doing what he can to push Trace back in lane to help SK Telecom take that turret, and that would be the first turret of the game taken. But meanwhile, they've left their mid lane undefended, weirdly. That was a strange decision by SKT to go up there. And are they going to collapse on this? It's 3v3 for the moment, anyway.
Have to respect Kuzan. He has Nationals too. Does a lot of damage.
Weird. All right, Faker over the wall, ults himself, gets kicked back, a lot of trouble now. Azir ult pushes him, Faker trying to get away. Kuzan trying to chase, Ash Arrow comes through. Kuzan gets the kill anyway. Wolf has to flash, turns around for the Braum ult. Blank goes in to try to get the execute onto Kuzan, but he just can't do enough damage. True Shot Barrage comes through to soften up a little bit, and there's a kill from Bang coming in to save the day. Actually, Blank got that one, but they do trade 1-for-1, killing off the mid laners, but kind of a bizarre move by SKT, and it's costing them. They're going to take more damage on their top lane turret because of this too.
It's a 1-for-1, but they invested so much more. Pilot just gets to mid. Poppy never left top, so going for 1-for-1 when you invest the time of all your members is not ideal from SKT.
Yeah, here comes Blank. They want to make a play on to Trace, but Trace knocking Duke back with that hammer.
Getting the note button.
Yep, got hammered.
St. Patrick's Day tomorrow.
That's true.
Seeing a replay. Again, SKT are the first to react, so they're looking for a big win here, but Kuzan already has Nationals too. That's why it's crazy that he got free time with the mid turret with the attack speed, and that's why if you opt into a duel in open space where he can just use his Sand Soldiers, it's almost instantly a 2-0 start for JinAir, but they do get some answering kills.
Yeah, I mean, Faker just wandered a little bit too close to the turret there, and that's how he died. And luckily, Bang was able to come up and help Blank pick up that kill. Would have been a little bit better on Bang, but take what you can get, I suppose. Dragon is up, and SK Telecom seems to be in great position to take their second in a row.
That's what you can do with these Lulu comps. You can rewrite your low dragon priority, start getting the dragons, and then 5th dragon buff with Lulu, a high attack speed champion anyway. There won't be those same damage concerns in the late game, so SKT opting into a reliable win condition, and so far,
they're
getting it down.
JinAir wants to contest this. Kuzan comes in with the Azir ultimate. Arrow goes through, gets blocked by Wolf. A lot of damage on SKT in general, though. Bang in the back, getting a lot of good autos in with that. After the True Shot Barrage, a kill on each side. Dragon's going to reset. Spear comes through, doesn't connect. Bang chasing. Bang, he's going crazy, man. There's a kill for him. Going to go after Pilot as well. Blank very, very low. Needs to be careful. That's a lot of minions. Blank gets the kill anyway. And Winged under turret. Bang, can he get him? Goes out for the, he misses the Q. Oh, he comes back in. Oh! And Bang does not survive despite the shield from Faker. And so in the end, it ends up being 4-for-2. But overall, I'd say that's worth it for SKT. They're going to get this bot lane turret as well.
Could have gone so differently. Kuzan got the flank, but there was immediate polymorph once again from Faker. shut down Kuzan, didn't get any damage. It was only the CC from the ultimate. Basically died for free, and from there, it was JinAir running in every direction. They lose the dragon, the 4-for-2 trade, as you mentioned. It's a big thing, but this could have been so different. Look at Kuzan, but he doesn't have the items. He only has Nashor's too. There's no Zonias to reset aggro. Polymorph dies, not getting any further damage in. And just the numbers advantage and the high amount of movement speed meant the chase was on, and it was a well-executed turret dive from SKT.
Yeah, and Bang is, not doing as much damage as he will be later, and the fact that he's able to come in here and get these kills already is really scary. And I gotta say, Blank is playing really, really well this game. He's getting in, being aggressive, making the ganks work. He's 3-0-2 right now at 18 minutes into the game, and so far so good for SKT.
And we talked about the stacking time, but I think it's a bit of a misnomer when he now has 3 items as Ezreal. Improved boots, the Mana Moon stacking up for Miramana, and the Iceborne Gauntlet. Look at Pilot. He's basically got components of a nice 2-item power spike, but still is far away from finishing anything. So Bang right now, already, with the Lulu in his pocket, with the Whimsy, is going to be teamfight ready, and it's going to take considerable time for Pilot to be anything more than just an ult bot.
Well, SK Telecom also now 5,000 gold ahead at about 19 minutes, and they got standard lanes, and then they just straight up outplayed JinAir across the map, and now we've got this huge lead for them. We'll see if they can close it out cleanly.
It all started in the bot lane. It all started with SKT running to lane in 2v2, really out-pressuring Pilot and Jay. Pilot was very low very early. It gave time for Wolf to push up a ward, and the jungle matchup has never looked even. Italy 20 CS ahead.
Here comes Wing. Kuzan trying to make a play on the Faker as well, but guess what, man? Whimsy makes you very fast.
Ah, yes. Picking off Lulu in a long lane, who just now gets her flash up as well. Yep. Very low percentage gank. But the jungle matchup's the big story. Rod of Ages completed already. 22 CS advantage. Literally every time the camera goes to top, Trace is ulting away the Trundle.
I know. Trace just does not want to deal with this Trundle right now, but he's got to deal with other things around the map. That mid lane turret getting really low, and they're using that Rift Herald buff to push it just a little bit more.
Wave clear focus with the first item build, but probably just a result of gold values. It means that Hurricane's the first finish for Pilot.
Yep. Faker split pushing down in bot lane. Duke really powerful up in the top lane. Has a nice CS lead, and it's tough for Trace to stop him. SKT has a pretty nice 3-1-1 split push going on right now.
Especially when you consider the only person who can match Lulu in this long lane is Kuzan, who doesn't have teleport on the Azir, and Trundle naturally wins the matchup against Poppy and top. The lanes that are available for JinAir just pale for SKT, who have the flexibility, who have the double teleport. They force the no teleport member to the lane furthest away from Baron. Strategically, SKT ran the early game, and now there's just not good lane assignments for JinAir, although...
Oh, it's wolf hunting season. Oh, he gets out, though. Jumps over to Blank. There's a Braum ultimate. They catch Kuzan. Kuzan tries to flash away. Makes it out, for the moment anyway, but Faker, the rest of SKT chasing. Faker flashes ahead, goes for that kill, gets it. They get the mid lane turret as well. Ash Arrow used on Bang just to slow down this crazy engage by SK Telecom. But man, SK Telecom today looking good, looking decisive, making good plays. The risks are paying off. This is the kind of SK Telecom I think people were expecting after Worlds.
SKT were known for their decisive early game playmaking and the smart pathing of Bengi in 2015. That's why it's crazy that this season they have a negative gold difference of 15. Their early game has been desperately poor, but they throw that all out, they bring back the old playbook, and suddenly they look like the team from 2015 to open up this series.
Yeah, they really do. Nice 7,000 gold lead at this point. It's going to go up even more after they kill this turret, eventually.
Kuzan made a really big mechanical misplay. If we do see a replay of that kill, even though he got out after being polymorphed initially, he actually queued back into aggro and ended up taking more damage. He could have been away scot-free, but made a mechanical misplay, again, much like Kuro did on Azir. And people trying to pick up Azir, but not having seemed to put enough games into them, have certainly been struggling in Champions.
Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, Kuro, Kuzan, both of these guys looking a little bit rusty with the Azir, and maybe you don't expect a lot from Kuro's Azir, but Kuzan, I feel like we should be seeing a little bit better play than we are.
Well, you see a high mechanic champion that always had his own personal skill cap against Faker on Lulu, who's basically been putting in games left, right, and center for the past year. person on a practice champion, the other one on that risky champion in Azir, and the comfort versus the potential. The comfort certainly has been leading the way for Faker.
Yep. That's right, and you can just see some of the gold leads. Faker up about a little over 2,000 gold over Kuzan right now.
And still doesn't have his BF sword item.
Yeah. I mean, Faker all season long has had the highest damage per minute in the league, and it seems like he's padding that stat a bit today. Dragging up in 40 now.
Just awesome to watch him play 3 games against Afrika on the Lulu. Game 1, kind of as a result of his team falling behind, didn't do much. Game 2, it was about the utility, and then Game 3 was assassin mode, just killing people around the Rift. That's the flexibility if you get ahead as Lulu.
Yeah, that's right. She has the capability to burst you for a lot of damage if you get a little bit of a lead, so.
Get a snowball Lich Bane, and anyone does a lot of damage, and Lulu is no exception.
Oh, yeah. All right, Dragon is almost up. You can see Blank and Bang setting up for it.
Trace just wants to team fight because has to deal with Trundle in his face.
I mean, Duke's whole objective this game is to just sort of occupy Trace, it seems like. Occupy that top lane.
Given how much carrying Trace has done, being forcing him onto Poppy and then keeping him anchored in top lane, a 0-0-0 score at 23 minutes, maybe that's a good strategy for holding back JinAir.
Yeah. Maybe. And easy Dragon taken by SKT. Here's the engage from Che, though. JinAir's going into this one. Wild Growth used on Bang to keep him healthy. Duke coming from the side after that teleport. Bang safe. Bang in the back line is doing a lot of damage. Pilot already very low. Wolf gets a bloodthirsty kill on the AD carry. And now it is all the SK Telecom show as they pick up every kill they can find. Trace very, very low. Faker and Blank should be able to finish him off. Easy double for Faker and Winged on the run. Let's see how much Faker and the rest of SKT actually want to pursue this. Looks like they're more interested in Baron. I can't blame him.
JinAir have a team comp that has to fight in an ordered fashion. Pilot needs to be behind Kuzan, kiting backwards after the Azir War comes down. Instead, it's basically multiple different skirmishes, and SKT have so much more mobility.
Wolf chasing Winged around the map, and that means that Blank, Bang, and Faker are trying to do Baron by themselves. It's going really slowly, though. Meanwhile, Duke takes down the tier 2 turret in bottom lane. Looks like they're barely going to get this Baron. Yep, Blank heals up. Everybody's safe. They even get a turret out of that. Get the 3rd Dragon. I mean, SKT, 12,000 gold ahead. It's been a dominating game 1.
It's one of those things where SKT just now barely got everything, but they got everything. That's the crucial factor. They got a turret, they got Baron, they could afford to be greedy. Again, JinAir need to fight as a 5-man kiting backwards, but you see this fight. Pilot and Kuzan are together, but the tank line's nowhere near them. Duke just runs at Pilot. He's a non-factor. He's Ashe. Ashe has always needed the peel. Ashe has always needed her team to play around her, but instead, Kuzan and Pilot just get completely zerged in the back line. There's only tanks left from JinAir. They're not going to do any damage. And Whimsy, the pounce. Braum has the W. There's high mobility from SKT. They trade on it. JinAir opt into a fight they're never going to win after the Dragon is already dead, and they get punished.
You know, this particular game kind of reminds me of the 2013 SK Telecom K, right? Where they have a solid early game, they get those standard lanes, they get a little bit of a lead, and then 1 or 2 team fights and they blow the entire thing wide open. And they just look so good about their team fighting, so decisive. It's good to see. It's good to see SKT looking a little bit tighter this week. And JinAir obviously has been a great team this season, but SK Telecom have been the ones that really need to get back in form, and they're doing that today, so far anyway.
The big story is that Blank's individual play, there's been no misplays, with some mechanical misplays from Gragas when he played that against Afrika, no such misplays here. And the team playing around the pressure jungler in Italy is what's been different from this SKT and any other SKT we've seen in 2016.
Yeah. There's Blank, they're going to try to dive Trace. Trace with the body slam. There's a pillar to slow down Poppy, and Bang comes in to help Duke pick up that kill. Yeah, there's just nothing that JinAir can do at this point.
Let me just pop over to the gold lead. It's pretty big.
It's pretty gigantic, man. 15,000 gold at 26 minutes. Yeah, this is a stomp.
Well, this is what the changes Riot wanted to do to make the games quicker. If you win the early game, which how often has there even been an early game with the whole lane swap situation? But if you win the early game, as SKT did, this is the sort of snowball that's possible on the 2016 patches.
Right. And I mean, again, it's the last time these two teams played was week 1, and although JinAir has gotten more wins, or more wins overall, more wings too, I suppose, than SK Telecom, it's interesting to see how these teams are matching up here in game number 1. There goes the mid inhibitor turret. Top inhibitor obviously long gone. And it looks like SKT going for the win right now. Winged and Che already really low. Duke just all over the carries in the backline. Kuzan pushes him away, but it's troll time, and there is not a lot that JinAir can do to prevent SKT from winning this one.
Maybe the late game the damage wouldn't be there, but there's not going to be a late game, Doa. Everyone's doing massive damage. Everyone on JinAir is paper thin. And we're just waiting for them to blow up the Nexus.
Yeah, they've got big minion waves pushing in the top and the mid right now. Che, Trace, Pilot, Winged, left over. Kuzan coming up in a while. There goes the first Nexus turret. Duke a little bit low, has to back off for the moment. They're just zoning to take out that second Nexus turret. They might not be able to end right now. Ash Arrow does connect with Wolf. And yeah, SKT having to back off for just a moment. Got to play it safe. It was close, but looks like they'll have to come back again later. They've got 2 inhibitors down, so no big deal.
Again, there's still an inevitability. Base is in ruins and then some, with basically 300 health left on the Nexus turret. Pilot will clear out the minions, which we're about to take down the bot lane inhibitor turret. JinAir, there's just no way back into this game. You cannot claw him back. There's nothing you can do. It's surrender or just wait. SKT will shop. Maybe they'll take down the next dragon, but they probably don't need to. They've already got 3 in the purse, and SKT just playing with their food.
I mean, Dragon 4 is nice if you're having to deal with turrets, but there's only 2 left on the map, so it's not really a
There's
not really a big
300
deal
health
anymore.
left on the only relevant turret that's stopping them finishing the game.
Pretty much, yeah.
But there is, you know, with SKT struggles, maybe the tutorial victory is not the best mindset to be in from an SKT perspective.
It may be. I mean, it's still a best of 3. JinAir is still a team that's, you know, 9-3 right now this season, so you can't underestimate them, even after a game like this.
SKT would go up to 7-4, much healthier record if they were to win this series.
Yep. I'm sure SK Telecom's not in the business of underestimating anyone anymore, especially after their games versus the Afrika Freaks. Wing tries to go for it. Blank comes in for a lot of return damage, and look at that. Wow, Bang already with a kill onto Kuzan. Couldn't do anything. Nice block from Wolf. Good damage. Great Braum ult just to lock up the rest of JinAir. Give the carries the time they need to do the damage, and the damage is done. Triple kill for Bang. Oh, tries to go for the Q onto Che. Doesn't get it. Looks like they're going to kill the Nexus right there. And that is it. SK Telecom with a dominating Game 1 win over the JinAir GreenWings. GG.
You take the nameplates off, you tell me that was Rocks Tigers versus Kongdu Monster, and I would have believed you, Doa. That's how one-sided it was from SK Telecom. So smart in the early game. Taking such a small thing, turning Ezreal and Braum entering lane early, winning a trade into stealing away a buff, 3-buff start for Blank on Nidalee of all champions. The champion is the strongest duelist. Blank from there in SKT, just following logically with the pressure and ended up icing the game very, very early. It was a very convincing performance from SKT on every level.
Yeah, and we talked about this a little bit before, but I think you're right earlier where the Lucian ban instead of the Nidalee ban ended up really hurting JinAir.
I understand on one level that you repeat that game with Lucian, it goes even better because Lucian can trade even better at level 1.
Possibly.
But the Nidalee is the big wild card. Nidalee cannot be out-dueled, aside from maybe opting into Kindred and getting the drop on the Nidalee. Otherwise, you're going to struggle, and JinAir and Winged were muted this game. They had almost no impact, and SKT ran the shop.
Yep. Yeah, Blank has a limited champion pool, so we'll see what strategy JinAir has when we come back.
It might be limited, but it's certainly meta, and you can't put 3 bans against him. He's probably going to pick up something he can play.
Probably. We'll see. It's best of 3. JinAir has a chance to come back. They are second place in the league right now. We'll see what they've got to take down SKT to tie up the series in just a few minutes as we come back on Champion Spring, our first day of the new week. Always fun to cast some champions, isn't it?
It's great to see SKT in form, but again, only Game 1 so far.
That's right. So we'll be back in just a few minutes, guys. Don't go anywhere.